Welcome to the first show of Urban Bait TV in 2023. Over the next few months we're going to be having regular content on the show for many different lakes and many different anglers, some day tickets, some syndicates. We're going to be involving a lot of anglers who have been using the bait and catching well on the bait over the last several years. Today we've come down to Dartford Lakes, which is a part of the DDAPS club. It's a day ticket. We're going to do 24 hours. If it's good, we might even stay another night. We'll see. There's been a few fish around, so hopefully we can show you a fish and show you what we're doing. There's a lot of history to this lake, which we'll be talking about later. But for now, we're going to get the rods out. We're going to find some spots. It's a lake I haven't fished in years and years and years, so it's changed a lot. I'm looking forward to getting my rods out. We're going to show you how we do it, and hopefully we can put a few fish on the bank. This structure out here, I'd say it's about a rod length and a half short. There's a really nice hard bit, and there's a bit of a mixture of gravel and silt. If you go left, it's very gravelly, so I'm not that keen on sitting in amongst the really gravelly areas. I'd rather there be a bit of silt in there, so you're just slightly off the spot. I think the fish like that a bit better. When it's too gravelly, it just, I don't know, I just don't like it as much. So I think that's where me bait's going, just to the right of that structure. I'll have to work out how far it is. Yeah, look, there's a lovely bit of silt there. There's a lot of fish down to the left in the bay, and I think they would have been the fish that we see showing out here this morning. So when we got down here this morning, there was an handful of fish showing, putting their heads out, sort of out in this zone. And now, as the heat's got on the lake, they've drifted down. There's like a weedy bay down there, and there's sort of, you go down there now, there's a big gang of them down there. So with a bit of luck, later on this evening, they're going to drift back out again, and my zone out there is going to be set. Going to have a couple of rods out there, probably like 20 spoms of bait, mixture of boilie, pellet, got some hemp in it as well, and some pigeon conditioner. And I reckon tonight, we'll start getting liners to start with. That's what I expect. Start getting a few liners, and then hopefully a take to follow. There's some lovely fish. I had a walk round about 2 days ago, and there's some real big fish swimming around this sort of zone. And I see a carp common come past. It had to be getting up for £40. So if we got it amongst one of them, that would be absolutely ideal. But even smaller fish will do. Look, there's one there now, two, just short of that. See, right on that zone, there's two fish there with their backs out. So it's looking absolutely brilliant at the moment. Been down the shop, got some bits, because it's you're not allowed to use leaders. I usually use leaders. The type of lakes that I fish, I use a lot of leaders, but no leaders on here. So we've got some tubing, got some clips. I'm going to redo my line. I'm going to put some really heavy line on, 0.40 line that I've got. I'm going to get all that done. So take me time, get all that done. We've got a nice bit of shade here and all, which is good, behind that tree. Get some fresh line on, get some fresh clips on, get some bait out there, and do you know what? I feel so confident. I was going to do one night, but looking at this, I think I might have to do two. Well, this is the rig that I'm going to use. I'm just about to get this out. This is my first rod. I'm using a double tiger nut Fished on a size 6 hook. I've got like a little spinner rig on there. I'm using an amnesia hook link, a 15-pound amnesia hook link. Got a little lead clip on there, small lead, about 2.5 ounce lead. The lead's actually running, it's sort of semi-fixed. I'm keeping a running lead. I don't really want to lose any leads, you know, the cost of everything these days. I don't really want to be losing any tackle. There's no weed out there, not a serious amount anyway to worry about. So there's my rig. Gonna fish it out there. It's just under 60 yards. There's a World War II object under the water. I'm gonna fish short of that, about a rod length short of it on this particular rod. I'm gonna fish about 15 spoms around it. So I bait it quite heavy. There's a few fish milling around over the back of it at the moment, and there's quite a few fish down to my left, so it's really looking good for this rod. My other 2 rods I'm gonna fish down to the right, a bit further out. But I'll get this one out there, get it baited, and then I can get my other 2 rods out. Just sinking my line at the moment. Just got my tip right down. Just give it a little bit of a tug, just lightly, so don't pull the lead. It just helps it, if you just manoeuvre it slightly, it just helps it sink it a little bit quicker. I'm gonna get my line right down on the bottom. I've got quite a heavy line I'm using, 0.40. So I wanna sink it right down, and then I'm gonna fish it basically locked up, because about a rod length behind me, it's quite a nasty sort of sunken object that I don't really wanna be having a fish go round. So I'll get these rods in place, and then I'll get them spotted up and get a nice bit of bait out there, and it's looking good. Sort of like using a semi-slack line. I very rarely use a really tight line unless it's major important that I'm using a really tight line if I'm fishing at extreme range. At this sort of range, which I'd call sort of fairly short range, you know, 50 to 60 yards, I'll use a good bow in my line. What that does is I find that it's not too aggressive in your swim, so when the fish swim through it, you know, it's not going to be like bowstring. It lays some line on the bottom. This is really heavy line, so it will lay on the bottom. And also what it does is it'll give you a line bite. So if you fish your line semi-slack with a light bobbing, if there's fish in the area, you'll find that, you know, you'll start getting line bite, which is what I want really, because that'll give me a bit of confidence. Tell me that the fish are in the area, tell me that they're on the bait, because if you're fishing line that really sinks and you're getting line bites, it's generally the fish are in the zone and they're deep down as well. If you're fishing a really bowstring tight line, that's quite a line that floats, that's going to be mid-water, you know the fish are more mid-water, and that's where we don't want them. I want them right down on the baited area, so I'm expecting to get line bites when they come in, especially over this amount of bait. Looking at the amount of fish I see here earlier, definitely going to put quite a few baits in. I was only going to put in like 10 spoms, even 15, but I'm going to put more in. Looking at the amount, I reckon we can hold a few fish as they're coming through. This spot here, I've seen, you know, so many fish go over that area that I reckon like half of this bucket I'm going to put out, and I reckon it won't take them long to get through it, the size of them. I won't put so many baits on, many spoms on my right hand rod, and this will be my main area where I'll bait heavy after watching the lake all morning. Got 2 rods out now, one on the tiger nut, and I've got one on my old favourite, which is this here, which is a nutcracker wafter, the barrel wafters. I put 2 wafters on, size 4 hook on there, a nice soft hair, so there's plenty of movement. There's a spinner rig on there and some soft braid. Again, fished on a running lead, a semi-fixed running lead. The nutcracker's got a lot of form on this lake. I know I've got some good mates who have fished over here over the years and have been using nutcracker and have done really well, so I'll have perfect confidence in this. Again, it'll be fished in amongst a mix of hemp, nutcracker boilies that are washed out in the mix, some tigers and some pellet. So I'm going to put not so much bait around this one, I'm just going to put, it's a bit of a shallower area, So I'm just going to put 8 or 9 spoms around this one, where the other spot was in a lot deeper water, and I've got a good 25 spoms around that one. So, and that'll be me done. Rod's out. Coming to the end of the day on Dartford Lake. It's been a really enjoyable day. We've seen a load of fish. It's an absolute stunning lake to fish. It reminds me of like a little mini Raisbury. It's sort of split up into sort of 4 lakes like Raisbury is. It's a lot smaller, but it's very mature. It's very, you know, it's full of big trees. The water quality is amazing. You can see right down into the water. There's loads of weed. We've seen plenty of fish swimming around. So it's been a really enjoyable day. It's a very historical lake, this. The Uzu of carp fishing back in the day in the 70s and the 60s, before I was born, would have been fishing on here. People like Jack Hilton, Rod Hutchinson would have fished this, Roger Smith, you know, some of the really big names around when I first started carp fishing. I first fished on here in very early 80s. It was one of the first carp lakes I fished. I come down here with a guy called Paul Warner. I was literally sort of 12 years of age at the time. Just got into carp fishing. I was using cut down ledger rods, and we got a lift over here, me and Paul. Paul was he was more advanced than me. He had, you know, all the proper carp gear and Mitchell reels and stuff like that. So he was more prepared. But we didn't know at the time. We thought you could night fish on here, and we come down here for 3 days. And we got here sort of like in the evening time. We got down here from East London. We'd got a lift down here, and we started to set up. And when I think back now, I think it was on that little island that's straight in front of us, which isn't a swim anymore, but it used to be a swim. And we'd set up, and we'd been here about an hour, and we was absolutely knackered because we didn't have wheelbarrows or nothing like that in those days. We were sort of carrying seat boxes and rod bags and water butts. And then as we got just settled into the swim and we started to get our rods out, the bailiff come along and kicked us off, telling us that it was day only if you didn't have a ticket. And then we had to walk our gear all the way back round the lake, and we went and slept out on the road. And for 3 days we were down here fishing. And of an evening, we were walking our gear back and sleeping up on the A2 road. That was over 40 years ago. I'm sure the traffic in them days wasn't nowhere near as bad as it was now. There weren't a lot of cars around. But it was a very memorable session for me. And Paul did even actually catch a fish. He caught a mirror about 11 pound on a munchie biscuit, a floater biscuit. So it was a very memorable session. And since then, I've always had fond memories of this lake. I've been coming over here, walking around this lake for so many years, and it's been a nice day today to come and fish it. We're on fish, which is great. I really feel confident for tonight. There's several fish been seen not too far from where I am, and I've got a good chance. So hopefully during the night I'll catch a fish out of this historical lake. Oh, look at this. Fish and chips, eh? Unbelievable. Not a lot. Fish and chips is a governor. Maybe pie and mash. Do like a bit of pie and mash, but then again, a nice fish would be good. Ah, oh, pie and chips. Pie and mash. No way. How do we get pie and mash here? Surely not liquor as well. Unbelievable. Pie mash and liquor. Proper Cockney food, eh? Fishing down at Dartford. We've had a day and a half. I mean, there's not a dull moment here, is there? The amount of characters we've met today is unbelievable. And even at one stage, there's a guy in the bay to our left, was found swimming in the lake with a duck's head on top of his head, like a duck's hat on top of his head. The bailiff found him and said, "What are you doing?" And when he come out, he was covered in fake blood, and apparently they were making a horror film in the bay down to the left. and the bailiff chucked them off. Could only happen here, couldn't it? It could only happen here. This place is an absolute one-off, and to finish the day, pie and mash, unbelievable. How did we get pie and mash around here?
Universe provided.
Oh my God. Don't think I've ever had pie and mash at the lake. Do you know that? Never had pie and mash at the lake.
Looks alright, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is all right. Yep, just had our pie and mash. So I can just feel the pie and mash in my belly, feeling lovely and warm. And the rod's just tightened up, the rod out on the island, fishing over 15 spoms, nutcracker wafter, and there's one on. Seen it erupt out of the island, turned it, and it's coming in quite easy now, so I don't know how big this fish is, but
Definitely a carp.
it's definitely a carp, 100% a carp. And happy days. First take. It's coming over that bar. Feel it coming over the bar. Don't think it's very big, but you never know. Keep him up high. So I don't know, I really don't know a lot about this lake, so I don't know what's about. I know there's a bit of weed down here on this first. Great news to get a fish over this amount of bait. So I put quite a lot of bait on this rod, more than I originally started out to do. And you know, it's only been out there a few hours. We did see 2 fish show out here. So one showed right on top of the bait about an hour ago, come right out of the water, and another one come out just to the right. So it was looking good. And I just see a little glimpse of the fish there, and it's a dark fish. It looks like it's a mirror as well. It don't look a bad fish. Yeah, it is. It's a mirror, scally one and all.
Might be that little patch.
It's a right scally mirror on the end. So we'll take our time, eh? It's a really scally mirror. Looks an absolute tank of a fish. Oh my God.
Looks like that, no, not patch. What I was talking about. All of it is.
Yeah, whatever it is, it's a lovely fish, isn't it? It's a really nice looking fish. Yes, son. Whoa, what a fish. Absolute tank of a fish. Look at that. Oh my God. Woo-hoo. Don't think I could have caught a better one than that. My God, it's an absolute beast of a fish. Oh my God. Yes, son, have it. Yeah, mate. Look at him. It's an absolute tonker of a fish, mate. Size don't matter when they look like that.
Nice fish. You've got such a variety of different lookers in here.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't know what you're going to catch next, you know what I mean?
Yeah, mate. Result, eh? First one. First one out the old lake. And an absolute belter. start to the session today. We've been down here all day. The rod's out this afternoon. About an hour ago, I've seen a couple of fish show right over the spot, over quite a lot of bait, so it probably took them a little bit of time to get through some of the bait that I put out there. And then this stunning linear. It's an absolute stunner. You see it coming up in the clear water, and we could see what we'd had a linear, and I was just praying it never fell off, because I could see from just playing it how gorgeous this fish is. It's an absolute stunning carp. And again, second take within an hour. Again, they've been showing on the spot. And chuck us that net down, please, Den. It was a better fish, this one and all. It's pulling a bit harder. The other one was a bit jerky. This one's got a bit of weight to it, I think. Nah, it's another mirror bit. Ain't as big as I thought. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, it's about the same sort of stamp. It's a oh, it's a scally one again. Or is it a common? Common. Nice. Yes, sir. Jet black common. Oh, look at that for colours. Let's get him up the back. I can get some salted before it gets too dark. Here we go again. Second bite in the hour. Just is getting dark. Another nice fish. This one really dark. A sort of, I reckon, about 23 pound. Common. Another stunner from Dartford Lake. Nutcracker wafter. 2 nutcracker wafters on a barrel wafters on a supple hair. So happy days. Back to the Gin Clear Lake, where we've seen crabs swimming around in the margin, which has been a bit of a rarity. Stunners. Yeah, there's one. Woke up to an absolute ripper. I was in such a deep sleep there. I heard the buzzer and then just see. See me rod tip bent right over. Oh, look, Joe. A bit of power, this one. Hello. A little common. That's it, another one. fizzing all over me out there as well. Well, I've got one in the net, and at the same time as I was playing that fish, I must have seen about 6 show right on me. As we speak, they're coming out right over me baited area, one after the other. Fizz coming up on me, still one rod out there on the spot, getting loads of liners. My line's just constantly going boom, 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 and I think it's just a matter of time. It's just, this is a style of fishing I love. Fishing over a lot of bait, mixture of boilie, pellet, seed. And once they get on it, you know, it don't really matter how much, you know, you need a good bit out there to pull enough fish in. There's another one, another head just come out on me. And I'll be very surprised if the last rod on that spot don't go. I reckon any minute now that's going to rock it off. I was in a real deep sleep this morning, really deep sleep. And the buzzer go, and then I see the tip pull over, and I was away. So we'll do the photos of that one in a sec. Just sort of got to wake up, but I must have seen, I don't know, 30 fish, 30 heads poke out right on me in the last sort of 15 minutes. I'm not going to put the other rod out. In my experience on this type of fishing, if you've got 2 rods on the spot, one goes, the other rod's basic is a banker. You know, you're going to get another take on the other rod. So I'll just leave that rod out there, and then if this rod goes, obviously I haven't got no rods on it, then I'll flick two rods back out there. But even if I'll have 3 up, you know, in the past I've had three baits on a spot when fishing over boilie and particle. And what I'll do, I'll wait. If I have a fish, I'll leave the other 2 out. If I have 2, I'll leave 1 out. And I'll just wait until there's no rods out there. There's no point me putting a lead out there at the moment while there's fish feeding on my spot the way they are. It could ruin a chance of my next bite. So this one rod on the rest is at the moment is super hot, and I think it's just a matter of time. The last couple of hours has slowed down a lot on my spot. There was a lot of fish on me earlier. I made a bad mistake, a mistake I don't normally make. And I had 1 rod still out there. The fish were on me. They was rolling on me, sticking their heads out and fizzing on me. I decided to put my 2nd rod back on the spot, which is something that I'd never do. And it was the kiss of death. As soon as I got that rod back out there, I never really see another fish for the next hour, 2 hours. I've sat there and it was absolutely dead, where before they were rolling and showing all over me. So it just shows you that when you're fishing over this big amounts of bait and they're out there feeding, a lead can easily push them off. And that is why I generally use 2 or 3 rods on a spot. You know, I put 2 or 3 rods on a spot. When you're fishing over loads of bait, it just proves it. you have a take, you've still got a rod on the spot or 2 rods, it's the one. You stick a lead back out there is a very good chance on a lake like this, which isn't overstocked, they're going to go. And that's what they did. They pushed off, they moved off. Since then, I baited a little snag down to my left, just before dark. There's a little hole that you can get to from the next swim up. It's like a sort of under a willow. There was about 5 carp feeding on that this morning, so that looked pretty good, and that's somewhere for the future if I wanted to come down here and try and stalk a fish. And it's looking a bit quiet now, but you just don't know. It's that time in the morning when one of them could easily still roar off. We'll give it a bit longer before we reel in and have a look around. Well, I'm just getting my rods back out there again. After having 3 fish last night, I've decided to stay another night. Can't fish for the next couple of weeks. I've got quite a lot on, so I might as well do another night as I'm on fish. I've learnt quite a lot about the lake over the last 24 hours. This is my first ever night on this lake, proper night. So it's been quite interesting, and you know, I've learnt a few bits and pieces that I didn't know before, and I've seen some areas that are not getting fished that in the future that I could attack. My rigs have been what I've been using lately with a spinner rig, really sharp hook. The hook length I've been using this year is an hook link that I've used for the last sort of 20 odd years, and that's Amnesia. The price of this stuff is really one of the reasons that I go to it. For 100 metres, it's £4. So compared to all the other hook links on the market, it's an absolute brilliant hook link. It comes in £25, £20. This is 15 what I'm using. It's tough, it sinks, it's strong. I originally started using this hook length in the 1980s as leaders. So if we would have been using a leader in those days, this was the leader material I've used. I've also used this for sea fishing as well over the years, and £40 when I go out boat fishing. So it's very versatile stuff, can be used in many different ways. I even know guys who have used this as mainline because it sinks so well and it is so tough if you bite in a really strong breaking strain. So yeah, 100 metres, £4, can't beat it. Over the last sort of 3 or 4 years, one of my main go-to baits, hook baits, has been these barrel wafters. They sink really nice and slow. Like you fish either 2 on a hair or a single on a hair. They really are a good hook bait. And out here at the moment, I'm finding that fishing over seed, pellet, sometimes you want a nice bright hook bait that stands out off the bottom to get you a quick bite, as we found out this morning. So last night 2 of the bites I had were on these barrel wafters, so tonight all 3 rods are going out on the barrel wafters. So Joe's heading off now. I'm going to stay down for another night after the success that I had yesterday evening and this morning. Over the next couple of months, we're going to be bringing out lots of different videos on the Urban Bait TV, so make sure you subscribe. Also, keep an eye out on our social media and our website for the deals we've got running. At the moment, there's a deal which is 20 key of boilie, 2 tubs of hook baits, and a bottle of liquid, which is 140 quid. And when you see in the tackle shop, a kilo of bait is 12 or 13 quid. It's well worth buying in bulk for your summer and your autumn fishing. So good luck everyone, and tight lines.